of a head start over our Earth culture, as an example. It is my estimation, it is my belief that they eventually, especially among all 7 different species of ancient ones, were able to piece together all the knowledge of the universe. And by having all of that knowledge, with their, again, billions of years head start in being able to learn and achieve that great accomplishment, they became masters over all the physical laws, etc., within our universe. One thing that proves their superiority of knowledge would be their ability to travel to our galaxy and to our solar system and to our planet. The ancient text, when it's discussing, along with our archaeological record, when it discusses the earliest earthly cultures that emerged with high technology, with great advancements, the oldest cultures in many cases were the most advanced as compared to later cultures. And when I refer to later ancient cultures, I'm referring to those after about 3000 BC. So there were cultures prior to 3000 BC that appeared to have a technological level in greater than what came later, as if there was a decrease or a reduction in cultural aptitude after 3000 BC. And
Don, can we get to all of that when we come back from break?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Hey.
Take us into the break, Ryan.
All right. I'm Ryan Gable, co-hosting with Michael Vera and Ira Robinson here on the L&M Radio Network, and our guest today is M.Don Schorn. This is The Last Frequency. We will be back in just a moment.
The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen OxySilver and OxySilver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver. Liquid Dentist GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Including OxySilver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol. Electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. OxySilver is covalently bonded to water. Unlike any other silver product using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently body silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and and more. OxySilver works 3 ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risk. OxySilver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from thecureshop.com. Buy OxySilver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at cureshop.com. That's cureshop.com with 2 P's. CURESHOPPE.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
The L&M Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an L&M subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you. Looking to advertise to a large worldwide audience, but at an affordable price? Contact the station at mv@LateNightInTheMidlands.com and tell us what you're looking for, and we can make it happen. That's mv@LateNightInTheMidlands.com. I'm Michael Vera with Ryan Gable and Ira Robinson, and of course our guest is linked up on the homepage of LateNightInTheMidlands.com, so feel free to go over and click on the link and it'll bring you right over to his website. Guys, we are back, and if you heard anything on the break there, it's because I had a furry little pet in here with me, and he had to go because he's not behaving. So,
no.
But we're back, and yeah. So I think this is interesting because I that's what I love about doing these shows, is because we learn so many different, I guess, ways of looking at things. I mean, and it's interesting to get all those pieces and bring them together. And so then, do you believe then, or does your research point to that at some point the human race was somehow interfered with, or was it that back in the day we got intelligent enough that the technologies that we have now are reinvented, not invented?
Well, a little bit of both, Michael. The aspect of a reduction in levels of technology after 3000 BC stems from the standpoint of the temporary exile of the ancient ones from Earth, commencing around 3150 BC. That left the Earth under the control of the dissident outer planet human-like species to set themselves up as gods and lord over humanity, and basically eliminate the influence that had been the norm prior to then of the ancient ones and all of the beneficial help that they had bestowed upon our planet. So it was that that break in influence of our planet that caused the decrease in technological levels. You also referred to the reinvention of many of those ancient items, which I address in quite in detail throughout all of the volumes in the journals of the ancient ones, as exactly being the case that that technology that the outer planet human-like beings brought to Earth with them was kept close to the vest, if you will, by those beings, and not shared with humanity per se, only brought out on ceremonial events and so forth to show that their power through use of those technological devices to scare the human population into accepting them as gods. Again, technology on that level would appear to be magic or supernatural to an unenlightened human population.
I say all the time, to send me back a couple thousand years, give me a cell phone and, I don't know, give me a couple fancy laser flashlights and let's see, how many people I can fool.
Well, the Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. Perfect example with the Zippo lighter, if you will, or a modern lighter in King Arthur's court in medieval times, being able to command fire within your hand was miraculous.
Yeah, and imagine if you were to go back to that time period with, say, your smartphone, and you took a picture of somebody, and you says, now, you either do what I say, or your soul will be sent to hell. I know, you could convince them that you've captured their soul.
Exactly.
And I think they'd be very scared because they don't know about that technology, so why wouldn't they believe it?
And go ahead.
I believe it was Arthur C. Clarke who said that any technology sufficiently advanced would appear as magic to any lesser technology species.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And outside of technology, Don, what about evidence of? I know you wrote in some of your books, and Ira here on L&M, we've been talking about these subjects recently on our shows. Let's say the fossilized human footprints, but the fossilized soul footprints of like a grid pattern that were found out in the desert that date back millions of years. What about extra evidence of that? Is there a lot of substantial evidence, or do you think that people are right when they say this stuff's just made up?
There's a limited amount of evidence. It's not abundant, but it is it does exist, and it's almost always more than just one isolated incident. In the form of the, or in the case of the shoe print, there were at least two. There are at least two known occurrences of that. One being the grid sole pattern, and another being such a distinct definition that was fossilized that you could see the stitching in the sole of the shoe, and one was like a size 8.5, and the other was a size 9 or a 10, something like that. So they were different locations, different styles, and at different ancient epochs, if you will. Right off the top of my head, with my bad memory, I no longer remember if it was 12 million years ago for one and 10 million years old for the other.
I think you had wrote 0.5 million for the one. I think it was found in the Gobi Desert.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was one of the ones there. But go ahead.
But there are numerous indications like that, and the obvious would be if there was not some lost, unknown, ancient earthly civilization of humans, then it had to have been extraterrestrial visitors that produced those extremely olden, fossilized, anomalous that anomalous evidence.
I mean, I would feel like there's really no other way to describe that, to explain why that evidence has been found. It's either an advanced ancient culture or it's extraterrestrials. I don't really see much of a third option on that.
I can't think of any.
Yeah.
And again, all of the evidence, all of the indications pretty much eliminate the extremely ancient, unknown, lost earthly civilization. I just don't believe that was the source for many of these completely ridiculous, out of place artifacts, that have been found. Now, there's those anomalous artifacts span such a wide range of items and they not only have the shoe soles, but they have fossilized organic material. They have technological indications, massive gears made of aluminum alloys, long before bauxite could be smelted, to produce aluminum.
I think there were little trinkets found in Peru that were over 4,000 years old that were partially smelted platinum, which doesn't melt until like 3,300 plus degrees Fahrenheit.
They've found spark plugs and that sort of thing in coal seams that have been there for millions of years,
Yeah.
On and on and on. Yeah, there's so many out of place artifacts out there, and it's an item of study that I've gone into a lot myself. It's very fascinating.
Have you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention that I in all of the journals, those relics, those anomalous artifacts are referenced, and especially in the first journal, Elder Gods of Antiquity, I devote an entire chapter just strictly to the most ridiculous, if you will, anomalous artifacts.
Have you ever heard of the genetic disc? I don't recall you writing about that.
I'm not familiar with that concept or that terminology. You're not talking about the Dropas discs.
I don't think so. The one I've never at least heard it referred to by that terminology. The one I'm referring to was found in ancient Peru, or it was like 4,000 plus years old. And it was supposed to depict, I've seen it, it's relatively small, but it's carved out of stone. And it's supposed to depict the process of conception through birth, and even at a microscopic level, the female egg, all the way through the birthing process and then on the backside it shows the child being born and then growing into an adult. And even the mainstream supposedly dated this to 4000 BC, and it's really not spoken about because they've got no explanation for it.
I have read something that was similar in that description, but nowhere near as detailed as you just gave. And it did not give it a specific name like the genetic disc or whatever you had referred to it as.
One thing I found fascinating with that one in particular was that there is some writing that is on it that is in an unknown language, but scientists just recently came out and said, well, we translated it. It just is a reference to the mother goddess, and that's all. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. If it's an unknown language and you admit that you don't know what this language is, then how can you say that you know what it says?
Unfortunately, that seems to be the case with several different ancient texts of that nature, or hieroglyphic tablets of that nature. Very similar with the Rongo tablets of Easter Island.
Oh, yeah.
Those were supposedly deciphered within the last decade or so, and it was such a simplistic translation that there was no way that the highly stylized pictorial script used by the Easter Islanders could possibly have been that simplified. It made no sense.
Yeah, a lot of their tablets and a lot of their history was erased by missionaries who went and they burnt a lot of the tablets and tried to convert the people that lived on Rapa Nui, Easter Island, tried to convert them to Christianity, and they burnt a lot of all that evidence. And we have from what I understand, we have very limited amount of those wooden planks with the Rongo language written on it. A lot of it was destroyed.
That happened with many missionaries and ancient artifacts similar to that. But I've also been led to believe that the islanders themselves also burned many of those wood planks, for firewood for cooking and so forth over the years. So it was, everything worked against the Rongo boards, the talking boards, unfortunately.
What about...
Well, I have one question. Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
No, Ira, go ahead, jump in.
Okay, well, I was going to say I have a question relating to some things that you were speaking about earlier before we took the break. You were speaking about the way that the gods basically have come in and they have essentially demonized those who were here before and setting things up along those lines. What I was immediately thinking of when you were mentioning that was the idea that at this point in time, most of the general population looks at things like the idea of serpents or serpent people or beings or of that nature as being demons, as being these horrific things that are out to get us all and that sort of thing. And I wonder if those beings are actually the ones that were the original type of things, and if they've essentially now been demonized, in the mythologies that we have left over today.
That's a great question, Ira. You hit on actually a combination of topics there. Let me hit the serpent symbol first. The snake pictograms were found through many ancient underground chambers and scattered around megalithic constructions and so forth. That was a very common, simplistic design in the oldest cultures that we found on Earth. The serpent in the oldest records was considered to be the ancient symbol of wisdom, science, and knowledge. And it was always associated, the serpent symbol was always associated with the eldest gods, and in our case, the ancient ones, in other words. And they were even known in various regions on Earth in ancient times as the serpent people, which in that term also referred to their followers often. It was just a common symbol of supreme knowledge in ancient times. That symbol later then was demonized. I call the plan by the younger gods, the outer planet human-like colonists that arrived here as early as 5300 BC, and, if you will, displace the ancient ones from our culture, putting them into temporary exile from Earth around 3150 BC. They knew that the ancient ones were going to be allowed back on Earth at some point in time with the expiration of that temporary exile. For that reason, they came up with a plan to, the eradication plan, as I refer to it, to make sure that the any remaining knowledge of the ancient ones would always be a negative a memory in the human psyche, and that was for the simple fact that they didn't want the human culture to accept the ancient ones upon their return. So basically, this eradication plan that they came up with was a three-phase plan that they undertook. The first phase was a demonization that started immediately after the temporary exile. They couldn't claim that the ancient ones didn't exist because they were still in the memory of the human populace. So they had to be demonized. So any of their symbols, the snake symbol in particular, the dragon, everything was demonized. All of a sudden, snakes are evil. We go back to the Bible with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and tempted by the devil. And what form did the devil take? A snake. So it was the demonization as the first phase. The second phase started to show up in records around 2000 BC, and that was a suppression and eradication of any knowledge of the ancient ones in ancient texts. And that involved a lot of rewriting.
For 15 years I've been obsessed to find out what was going on inside.
I apologize, guys. I didn't even hit a button. That just started on its own. I'm not kidding. I really didn't touch anything.
Must have been important info there.
Yeah. I apologize for that.
Oh, no problem. That I'm just finishing up the suppression and eradication, that second phase, to basically eliminate any reference to the ancient ones, and that second phase in particular has caused so much confusion in ancient texts that we now see, since so many ancient texts were recopied, revised because of deterioration over the ages. When the ancient ones were suppressed or eradicated in a record, the new copy inserted the younger gods, the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, and so forth, in their place, and it made no sense in many cases where a son then became the father of the father. It was just a jumbled mess.
That's what we have in a lot of ancient mythologies. It's just the mother is also the sister and of the husband, and then they're together. They have a kid, and the kid is also the brother of the father, the dad.
Exactly. Just crazy mess that's left with it. Just to wrap up the eradication plan, then the third phase was the usurpation phase, and that started about 1550 BC, when the younger gods, the outer planet human-like gods, started to take credit for all of the beneficial things the ancient ones had contributed to Earth over the eons of time that they had been involved with our planet. So that kind of wraps up the eradication plan, why we have jumbled ancient records to a big degree, and why some of the once revered symbols of ancient times then became demonized or degraded, because of the desire by the outer planet human-like beings to disgrace, discredit, and make the ancient ones reviled in the eyes of humanity.
Now you say Go ahead, Ira.
I was just going to say, so with that in mind, what do you think that the places around the world that maybe had more of a division away from the rest of humanity, such as areas in Asia, why they still have the idea of dragons being something of great wisdom and great benefit, for instance, that they were not co-opted by these other younger gods?
That is exactly the case, Ira. The records of Tibet, as a prime example, with the Aryan intrusion, they didn't invade. It was an intrusion around 3000 BC. The Aryan gods were the outer planet human-like gods that we've been discussing, the younger gods that we've been discussing all evening. With their intrusion into ancient India, many of the great records, the earliest records of ancient India, were pirated away, were secreted away across the border and into Tibet, where they were held in cave libraries known as Guptas by the Tibetan monks, and who continue to this day, in many cases, to religiously guard those ancient texts. So those are some of the texts that have come to light in more modern times that very specifically refer then to the ancient ones. It is extremely difficult to find ancient texts now that have any reference to the ancient ones because of the eradication plan by the younger gods.
And I think that was probably part of the way in which that they took control, because it wasn't necessarily an all-out invasion, as you said. It was more of a kind of a creeping into our culture and changing what we were, believing prior, and putting themselves in the places of the gods who were supposedly here to help us, per se. And what I wanted to ask you was, why were the ancient ones? Why were they exiled, and why can they not return? Can they interfere? Does this have anything to do with the stories of UFOs shutting down nuclear bases? Is that maybe the ancient ones trying to help us? But the main question is, why were they exiled, and are they able to ever return? Where are these other beings at to this day?
Great question. At the onset of this evening's discussion, in my somewhat lengthy dissertation on the Elder Gods theory, to kind of give the basic outline or concept of the theory, I mentioned right at the tail end that there was a world war started just before the temporary exile of the ancient ones. That world war was fought by humans influenced by either the ancient ones and their helpers, or by the younger outer planet human-like colonists that had arrived here around 5300 BC and continued to gain influence over those millennia down to that roughly 3150 BC time frame, where the World War had started for control over Earth and the human population, but it was a war fought by humans influenced by the two different sides, the ancient ones and the outer planet human-like colonists. The human-like colonists certainly didn't have the technology that the ancient ones had, but again, the ancient ones, by the mandates of the cosmic order, could not interfere by using their technology to fight, a planetary war that was going on. The outer planet human-like colonists knew the loopholes, the ins and outs of the cosmic order mandate or mandates because of their ancient ancestors were raised on it, if you will. That, again, if you recall, prior to 700,000 BC, the ancient ones visited our solar system, and the first life being formed was on that outer planet. And they then received all of the beneficial influence and help, guidance, civilization, and assistance from the ancient ones, and became a model civilization prior to the destruction of Maldek. If Maldek was their home planet or not, evidently they were involved in that destruction of Maldek by mistake. It wasn't a deliberate destruction of the planet. The book goes into great detail on a possible scenario involved with that process. But long story short, the outer planet human-like colonists reverted or resorted, I should say, to use of nuclear weapons during that World War. And the ancient ones, and there's indications of the vitrified sand in the western areas of Mesopotamia and so forth to indicate that ancient nuclear blast. But it so frightened the ancient ones that the outer planet human-like colonists had threatened to set off further nuclear weapons, basically eliminating all life on the surface of the planet. So to spare humanity, the ancient ones agreed to leave Earth temporarily. That became the temporary exile that I've been referring to throughout the course of the evening. And it's an unknown exile, period-wise, and under what circumstance they are allowed to return, and even the specifics of the exile itself, other than it appears that they cannot have, the ancient ones cannot have any direct, open, public contact with humans during the exile period. That's one reason why I think that we have this clandestine UFO game that seems to be being played, where UFOs don't land on the lawn of the White House. They only contact people in remote areas that no one can verify, etc. It's because they are not allowed the open contact with humanity, and the rationale, the reason why that condition was made with the temporary exile was so that the ancient ones could not continue to influence humanity. In other words, relay the actual truth of what is going on our world and within our region of space, so that we, as a future a culture, whenever they return, will not vote to join the cosmic order, and that will require the ancient ones then to leave Earth permanently. That would then leave Earth in full control of the outer planet human-like gods, who have basically gone behind the scenes since their, if you will, disappearance by about 450 AD.
If you're just joining us, I'm Ryan Gable. I'm here with Michael Vera and Ira Robinson. My website is www.thesecretteachings.info. Michael Vera's is latenightinthemidlands.com. and Ira Robinson's is OpenEyesNetwork.com. This is the last frequency, and we are speaking with author M.Don Schorn, author of Journals of the Ancient Ones, Elder Gods of Antiquity, Legacy of the Elder Gods, and Gardens of the Elder Gods. Don, I have a couple of additional questions for you, and the first one I think is a question that a lot of people might have, and that is, what did these beings look like? You keep saying human-like instead of humanoid. Why do you say human-like rather than humanoid?
Oh, fabulous question, Ryan. The reason I chose the human-like rather than pre-human as an example, the term pre-human to me signified a species that was somewhat subpar to humans. And it was just the exact contrary to that with the outer planet human-like species. They were the original human-like species within our solar system. We are humans today because of the DNA used by the ancient ones in their genetic engineering work to create the recombinant species, a dual species, if you will, an earthly species as well as the outer planet species. So they are not human per se. That was one reason why they couldn't be transported. At the few survivors that did survive the destruction of Meldak around 700,000 BC, they couldn't be brought directly to Earth because of their incompatibility at that time with Earth conditions, as well as Earth was undergoing the Goose Ice Age, one of the worst, most severe ice ages we've ever had. So it wasn't as a suitable environment at that time anyway. But they just flatly weren't that compatible with Earth at that time until after the recombinant genetic work done by the ancient ones. So we are a combination of them plus ape man. You know, the Pithecanthropus species that was used as gestation vessels, if you will. With after the genetic work that the ancient ones had accomplished to save the outer planet human-like species and to improve on the ape man that was, our highest life form on Earth at that time.
So I was just going to say, I have two questions, and that would be related to that. The first one is, do you think that this is where we have now found, genetic scientists have found that everybody basically that is of any kind of descent outside of those who are pure African descent have Neanderthal DNA mixed with, but the ones who are of pure African descent do not have Neanderthal DNA? The second part of the question would be then, do you think that the proof in the pudding basically is the fact that one of our chromosomes has been fused to another, which has not been seen anywhere else in nature?
To address the second part of your question first, I would say no, without going into much more detail, if that's acceptable.
Sure.
To then get back to the first part, it wasn't totally correct on what you said. That's a bad way of phrasing that. Not all non-African races have that 1 to 4% Neanderthal genome within them. As a matter of fact, it's fairly rare, and it is such an extremely low percentage, the 1 to 4%, on the few that do have it. It does prove that Neanderthal was not an ancestor. And by saying that, Neanderthal was merely the next evolutionary branch, natural evolutionary branch, from Pithecanthropus, from Java man, Peking man, Heidelberg man. That tail end of that dead end branch of Pithecanthropus. That natural evolution on Earth was Neanderthal. At that same time, we had the early specimens, the early branch of humanity's ancestors, in the form of these trial runs of genetically engineered candidates to see, by the ancient ones, to see how they would react as far as compatibility with Earth. And so we have two different species, if you will, during most of the time of Neanderthal. We have the early, what I refer to in the journals of the ancient ones as the proto-sapiens, our ancient ancestors that were first genetically created, if you will, by the ancient ones to test out their compatibility. And they went through many, many variations until they got down to 43,000 BC with the Cro-Magnons. But between the Proto-Sapiens and the Cro-Magnons, all of a sudden there was this natural evolution from Pithecanthropus man to Neanderthals. At the early part of the emergence of Cro-Magnons, and down to about 26,000, 2550, or 25,500 BC, Cro-Magnon and Neanderthals existed at the same time. And there are known instances of interbreeding between the two species. That's where the 1 to 4% of the Neanderthal genome shows up in the few non-African races around our world. It was from the interbreeding between the two species from 43,000 BC to about 25,500 BC, which was the end of Neanderthal man.
Don, if you can hold on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It could have been rape by the Neanderthals of a Cro-Magnon, or it could have been, acceptance and, the couple saying yes. That would be hard to discern at this point.
If you could hold just for a few minutes, we're going to take a quick break. Can you come back and join us for another 20, 30-minute segment?
Oh, that'd be no problem at all. I'd be happy to.
Okay, great. So keep that thought in mind. I am Ryan Gable. I'm here with Michael Vera and Ira Robinson. Again, thesecretteachings.info is my site, Michael Vera's website, Late Night in the Midlands, and Ira Robinson's is OpenEyesNetwork.com. We're speaking with M.Don Schorn, the author of the Journals of the Ancient Ones. And Don, while we go to break here, is there a location where listeners can pick up a copy of your books?
They're pretty much available at any bookstore. If they don't have them, they can order them. They're available at Barnes & Noble on the Internet, as well as Amazon.com. And Amazon always has nice discounts on all of my books. So, that's where I would recommend people to check first is Amazon.com, and numerous other outlets can be found. And the easiest way on that is to Google M, like in Mars, M.Don Schorn, Schorn, and that'll pull up about every outlet, and also tie in with all of your Sacred Teachings program that I've been a part of, and other venues and areas like that also, Ryan.
Awesome. I've also posted the shows you've done with me on the Late Night in the Midlands and the Last Frequency Facebook pages. So, Michael, if you want to go ahead and take us to break, we'll be right back with M.Don Schorn.
All right, folks. This is the Last Frequency, and we will be right back.
LNM Radio has joined with the Hardened Structures team to provide state-of-the-art survival shelter design and build services at LNM Radio exclusive rates. Hardened Structures, with over 21 years experience in military, commercial, and private shelter design build services, are also offering LNM Radio listeners a free consultation, normally a $500 value. So click on the Hardened Structures banner on the home page or the chat and listen page and have peace of mind that no matter what happens, your family is protected. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Want to be a guest on LateNightInTheMidlands.com? Well, you don't have to have the big name and the big books and, of course, the movies and videos. All you need to do is contact me at mv@LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Tell me what you got to offer, and let's see if we can make this thing happen. Again, that's mv@LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Hello, this is Michael Vera here to tell you about Oxy Silver, legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. NASA originally developed covalently bonded silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. Oxy Silver works 3 ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than the leading silver products and without any risks. Oxy Silver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the L&M network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at HealthyWorldAffiliates.com, 4948. That's HealthyWorldAffiliates.com, 4948. And buy Oxy Silver and other great products and package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy Oxy Silver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's, CureShop.com. Or call toll-free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
This is some dangerous, dangerous stuff. And you don't need some politician in a black, blue suit to tell you that aliens are real, or to tell you that UFOs are real, or to tell you that there used to be an atmosphere on the moon or Mars, because we have evidence of it, and we don't need them to tell us. And besides that, why would you want them to tell you? Because they've lied to you your entire life.
At Late Night in the Midlands, host Michael Vera takes a much different approach than most hosts do in an attempt to figure out what is really going on in the world we perceive to live. The show is not always about being correct, selling products, or putting his name in lights. Michael is concerned with the truth and connecting the dots no matter who and where they lead. I'm Ryan Gable, host of The Secret Teachings, and I approach my show in the very same way. Sometimes you think that in order to be the best, you must appear the best, but the truth has no need for appearance and masking. It just is. Information is not negative. It is how you view it that determines the dimensional characteristics of either dual aspect of negativity or positivity. In less words, it's intention. Even if you disagree with what Michael discusses, we should be able to have an open discussion without de facto fallacies of ad hominem name-calling and ridicule, not predicated on fact or reason, but on ignorance, pettiness, self-absorption, narcissism, ego, and fear. Try as you might, but no amount of disinformation, propaganda, ridicule, name-calling, or trolling on the internet will change the truth. The truth is the truth, regardless if the masses accept it as is, or if it is accepted by only one person out of billions. It is no measure of health to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. I'm Ryan Gable, host of The Secret Teachings, and you are listening to Late Night in the Midlands with host Michael Vera.
That's probably why you call us in the middle of the night to tell us what's going on. We would appreciate it. So you're welcome to call in at any time, by the way, at 803-317-2264. If you have a question for the guest, he'll be with us for a few more minutes here. And the website, again, latenightinthemidlands.com. Become a member. Be informed, folks. Please donate, help us out. We're getting near the end of the month, and we certainly wouldn't want all this effort to be for nothing. So in order for this station to stay on the air and this station to continue to grow, we will continue to need your help. And, you know, our goal is to eventually get enough subscriptions one day where we don't have to go and ask for donations. But right now, that's what keeps us on the air. You guys have been doing it for a long time. And that's why we've been doing it for a long time. So keep us on the air, help us out. You could find the donate tab. It's a drop-down tab, or there's buttons all over, homepage, chat and listen page, so on and so forth. So, gentlemen, we are back. And Ryan, I know you've got another question. So by all means, we'll start there.
I do have another question for Don, and my question comes along the lines of DNA. I just wanted to see what you thought about this, Don. Scientists nowadays mainly say that 97% of our DNA is junk, as if we don't need it, it's useless. Do you think, and this is kind of a two-part question, but if we were able to access even a portion of that 97%, do you think that maybe it contains information of some sort? And do you think that maybe that DNA that we don't have access to, that's not active, do you think that DNA was perhaps shut off by some type of engineering process by one of these sets of beings?
Great question, Ryan. I do think that the recombinant genetic work done by the ancient ones contributes to that unused portion or unknown as of yet portion of our genome. I'm not sure that it was, if all of those anomalies that we now have within our genome were deliberate, or if they were merely results, unanticipated results from that initial recombinant genetic work. One thing that I do believe the human abductions that we hear about fairly often by UFOs or UFO occupants, I feel the thing that makes the most sense to me to explain those abductions would be the ancient ones or their assistants or helpers doing the bulk of those abductions with the intent of checking on our genome to see if indeed any additional work has to be implemented or done by the ancient ones to correct what may now be coming active as far as segments of our genome or certain recessive genes becoming active, things of this nature. And most of the abductions appear to be centered around, human reproductive systems, and that I think is a feasible explanation for most of those abductions. Basically, humans aren't hurt through those normal abductions and examination processes, with most having a repressed memory thereafter. The few times that humans have been injured, it could be from another alien race, perhaps visiting our planet and just checking us out, so to speak. I don't see the ancient ones doing anything to deliberately hurt humanity.
I was going to ask about that in relation to, like, if they are trying to prevent any other races from coming in or anything along those lines, if you have sort of any thoughts or indications of anything along those lines.
I had mentioned earlier that there were at least 7 first being species, if you will, from the earliest eras of our primordial universe that overcame their self-destructive nature and formed this coalition, later coalition known as the Cosmic Order. Ancient texts also reveal that there is an 8th species, and they are known throughout our ancient texts as the Destroyers. And most of those ancient texts indicate that there have been battles fought for planetary control, for galaxy control, since the dawn of time, if you will, between the ancient ones and this 8th race of first being species, the Destroyers. So it would appear that by their references, their mention in ancient texts, that the Destroyers have at least visited Earth at some point in Earth's past. It would also appear that there are an occasional rogue alien species or an independent race species, not a member of the Cosmic Order, that may have inadvertently stumbled upon Earth or whatever from time to time. The question you asked was the protection, and there does appear to be protection offered by the ancient ones, especially to their community of planetary beings that have agreed to the cosmic order mandates. In other words, join the cosmic order, that celestial organization. The ancient records refer to something called the ring pass-knots, and several other names similar to that, referring to it as a belt at other times or whatever. It appears to be some sort of a spatial, a cosmic, a stellar buoy system or satellite system, either around a specific planet such as Earth or around an entire solar system, or perhaps even a region of space, indicating that this area has been claimed or this area is under the protection of the Ancient Ones, as an example. And so there does appear to be, through ancient texts, the indication of some sort of protection that apparently Earth is still under, even with the temporary exile of the Ancient Ones. There is very little question in my mind. The Ancient Ones left Earth, but they didn't leave our region of space. I would almost guarantee that they have bases on Earth's moon as well as on Mars. Those would be the two most likely places for them to set up their temporary headquarters while they wait out the temporary exile period to expire.
I was going to ask about that as well, if you thought that there was any indication of them being on the moon, on Mars, or on the other planets. Just the Earth basically has been forbidden to them then.
That is correct. And that way they have they stay in close proximity to be able to keep an eye on Earth in case things get out of control, as they did in around 3150 BC with the outer planet human-like gods at that time setting off nuclear, explosions. And
see, now that makes sense to me. This is Michael speaking. It makes sense to me because at least the aspect of the nuclear explosions, because I had a nuclear physicist on this show who says that after seeing the NASA data that there's proof within the air, above ground, in the air on Mars, that the same signature you would find here on Earth for an atomic bomb going off. So, I mean, and there's no crater for it. So that would mean that it blew up in the air. So, and he says that about that same time, it would appear that Earth also had a similar fate. So it's pretty interesting that, you guys come to nearly the same conclusion, really, right?
Michael, did your physicist put a date or a time frame on his observations of a possible air explosion of a nuclear device on Mars?
He did. I don't remember exactly what he called it. I don't know, Ryan or Ira, you might remember.
I think if I remember correctly, he said it was about 700,000 to 1 million years ago, somewhere along that lines.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would have tied in then with Maldek's destruction. In that,
yeah, which I was going to ask about. I was going to ask about the Maldek thing. Like, if you have any indication in the text of how it was destroyed, or the process that took place, or if it was maybe like a weapon that was used, or maybe somebody threw something at it and destroyed it, or anything along those lines.
I'll try to go through it quickly because we're getting late in the evening. But I have a speculative scenario that was involved. Number one, a planet cannot be destroyed from the surface. It has to be a deep internal cataclysmic event. Period. It just can't happen on surface alone. You can eliminate all life on the surface of a planet with nuclear weapons, but you can't destroy the planet from the surface. So whatever it was involved deep internal structures of the planet. It would appear that they either on Mars or on Meldeck were undergoing an environmental crisis, an environmental problem, which probably was the slow loss of atmospheric gases and a diminished magnetic attraction to hold that atmosphere, as well as preclude cosmic rays from striking the surface, bombarding the surface, and affecting life. I don't know what specifically was used. It could well have been an introduction of nuclear-type devices deep underground to reactivate volcanic eruptions or volcanic activity, to create eruptions on the surface and thus allow venting of new internal gases to the atmosphere to replenish the atmosphere. But it also apparently involved some sort of procedure to increase the differential between the liquid and solid inner core, which is really responsible for our magnetic field around our planet, at least the strength of our magnetic field around our planet, or around a planet, to protect from solar radiation. So it was apparently a combination of procedures attempted either through fissures, crevices, or a drilling operation that got down to, past the mantle, and it would be pure speculation, but it appears to be something extremely internal to the planet, whatever that procedure was, to correct the environmental problem went awry, and it destroyed the planet instead. Now, Meldeck could have been a test planet, with Mars being the home world, and they were testing out the theory, the process, and the procedure on Meldeck, and destroyed everything in the process. Or it could have been implemented on the home world, which would then have been Meldeck, and whatever destruction resulted from Meldeck also stripped away a large portion of the Martian atmosphere at the same time, because of that massive explosion, that massive destruction of Meldeck, and basically gave Mars what I conceived to be the environmental problem that Meldeck had in the outer planet human-like species attempt to correct that environmental problem. So not only did it backfire, but it spread then to an adjacent world, or whatever the case might be.
M.Don Schorn, our guest tonight. Don, as usual, I absolutely love your theories and what you discuss in the 3 books, the Journals of the Ancient Ones. Can't wait to get my hands on the 4th one. I wanted to give you just a minute or two here, as it is getting kind of late in the evening. Give you a couple of minutes to say anything else that you would like to say, and again, maybe promote your books just a little bit more, give out the names once more, and maybe give us a little hint at what the 4th book's going to include.
Oh, well, thank you, Ryan. Let me start with a perception, at least on my part, that the wide-ranging elements and aspects of the Elder Gods theory that we have been discussing this evening may seem like a jumbled mess and a hit-and-miss approach, and terribly disjointed. And I want to apologize to your listeners and assure them that the books are better organized and in virtually a step-by-step fashion to promote the understanding of this wide-ranging subject matter. So if your listeners would understand, I do appreciate that. As far as the books, again, the book series is known together as the Journals of the Ancient Ones, with the first volume being The Elder Gods of Antiquity, the second being Legacy of the Elder Gods, the third, Gardens, that's plural, Gardens of the Elder Gods, and the fourth, just about completed, is History of the Elder Gods. And at the start of our conversation this evening, I just tried to briefly describe the first three volumes, and the fourth volume is the most step-by-step, taking out all of the extraneous stuff, the step-by-step best explanation I could come up with for the Elder Gods theory. It's not really a rehash per se, but it is. It takes all the rather extraneous aspects and elements out, because I have been told that some of the readers have had difficulty understanding the full concept, or think that they have the full concept of the Elder Gods theory, and unfortunately it's not meshing because they have an element or two out of place or erroneously conceived, and this hopefully will take care of that with a very concise, straightforward, step-by-step indication of the Elder Gods theory. Plus, for the first time, I do take the continuation of the Elder Gods theory out of the ancient past and right up to modern times. So I mentioned within the conversation this evening that the outer planet human-like gods disappeared from public view around 450 AD. This volume, the History of the Elder Gods, addresses what happened to those gods once they disappeared from public view. And it takes us into the realm of what they have done since the 450 AD time frame into modern times, and some of the more clandestine, dark leader type one world government thoughts of where they are behind the scenes currently in the makeup of our planet.
Okay. Well, I certainly appreciate you being on the show tonight. I'm sure Ryan and Ira, you do as well.
Absolutely. It's been a really fascinating discussion tonight. I'm really appreciative of you coming on.
Well, happy to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of your listening audience. I really do appreciate that.
And we'll keep you linked up on my website at latenightinthemidlands.com. We'll get you on the links page. So that's where we put all our guests. And I thank you again for being with us, Ryan.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I wanted to thank you, Don, for taking the time out of your night. And I know we probably went over what you planned on going tonight. But really riveting, fascinating stuff. I love your works, and I'll have you on my show, The Secret Teachings, as soon as you get that fourth book out there, and we'll see where it goes from there. So anyway, you're still linked up at latenightinthemidlands.com. Hope all the listeners enjoyed this, and you are listening to The Last Frequency. Our guest tonight, M.Don Schorn.
All right.
Again, thank you, gentlemen, so much for the opportunity.
And thank you, too, my friend. We appreciate having you on. Have a good night.
Appreciate
Have a good night.
All right, bye-bye.
You gentlemen, too. I thank you again.
Thank you. All right, so there you have it. Interesting conversation tonight. It's a different aspect, but I can't really argue with too much of that. I mean, the Planet X thing, like I say, I have not had that proven to me. Although I have seen proof that it's been, that NASA had put it out there and all this stuff. So maybe it is a cover thing, maybe it's not. But if it's not, somebody still is yet to prove it to me. Marshall Masters tried to pull a fast one, and I busted him. And, so he didn't like it. I asked him, I asked him about the flaw I found, and he says, F off. So, in other words, damn it, foiled again.
I think what we need is Richard Hoagland on this show to ask him about those photographs.
Yes, and you know what? We'll talk about that. We better not say too much, because don't think they don't listen.
No, that's right. But I'd love to have Richard on my show, though.
Yes, I think you should.
Absolutely. I think it'd be a fascinating discussion with him.
Me and my friend Gary would love to call in.
I don't take calls on my show.
Hell, you would that night.
We can find a way to take a call, I'm sure, from you and your friend.
Yeah, there's always a way. There's a will, there's a way. Believe me, Gary the Mad Martian, he'd fly through several universes to get to Hoagland.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that tonight. Like I said, M.Don Schorn is one of my favorite authors on the subject of what we call ancient aliens. But as you saw, as you heard rather, he's much more outside of even the alternative mainstream about ancient aliens and Planet X. It's a much different take on things. And I've got to tell you, like he said, when I was reading his books, it's laid out in such a concise way, it just kind of makes you think, wow, if the people that really believe all the Planet X stuff and all the History Channel ancient alien things, you kind of look at it and you think, wow, that's kind of crazy. This makes a lot more sense when you come at it from still a very scientific but a very logical point of view. Makes a lot more sense.
And it's like Star Wars for me. It's not that I believe everything I see on Star Wars, but, there's something there. You're being shown something. And that's where I get the idea that Death Star, okay, maybe it wasn't Nibiru, or maybe it was a Death Star, and it said Nibiru on the side. So, they didn't know what else to call it, so they said planet, or, who knows. But so it could be anything like that. It could have been something that passed by before, and now, like he said, it's in the asteroid belt. Maybe it could be anything. It could be there's rogue planets out there. So I mean, sure, anything's possible. But, people, let's face it, it's just like the Walmart thing. People get this, they take advantage because they know that there's people out there who are paying attention, who are trying to follow the real news, and they know that this country has been seized, and they know that we're in trouble. But then you got people who know that these people know that, and they try to misguide them, steer them the wrong way, and put fear in their hearts with stuff like this. And they do the same thing with Planet X. I mean, I'd like to get all the guests that I've had on through the years who have told me, well, we might have a year, we might have 2 years, but here's the thing. I guarantee that if I brought most of those guests back on, they'd make it sound pretty. I mean, like, well, okay, nobody
miscalculated something.
Well, I never said when it'll come. I mean, nobody knows that, and then they'll, but yeah, nobody does know when something like that. You'll know when something gets close enough. You'll know. I'm not talking about a little earthquake here, or little tornado there. No, you'll know.
When the powers of the be start scurrying into their bunkers, that's when you really need to pay attention. Otherwise, don't worry about it.
Yeah, watch the animals, and that includes the rats who are in charge. Watch them, because when they start scatting and you hear their little feet hitting the floor, well, you know it's time.
That's the time to pay attention. Otherwise, hey, they know what's coming. They know what's coming better than we do, So that's when you pay attention.
Well, yeah, they do. They do to a sense. But, I think we may not have the full picture. Nobody does. But we have a good idea of what's happening. I mean, with all these military drills. Now, see, this is what I mean. Like, the Walmart thing makes light of that. The whole Planet X thing, okay, you got people looking up and looking for something out there that you claim can't be seen, but I have people claim, well, that's why the chemtrails are sprayed to cover it. So you're telling me we need chemtrails to block us from seeing something we can't see? I mean, it's just, who's making up the stories and who's not. But me personally, I think there's some truth to the original stories of this whole Planet X thing, but I don't think it's as people put it out today. I think it was something they seen, something they were describing, and I think it's been pulled out of proportion. And that's not to say that something rogue can't come in and screw us up, because sure it could. And, I think just about every planet that that they find that they haven't named yet. They call it Planet X or Planet Z. I've seen it. So, if you go to their websites, you can see these things. So,
all X means is, and two things. It means, one, in Roman numerals, it means 10, as in the 10th planet. But X always means unknown. It's like when people use the words black magic, they think, oh, no, it's Satan. No, it's not Satan, idiot. Black just means unknown. It's like a black budget. It doesn't mean that they're summoning Satan. It just means a budget that you can't shed light on because there's no documents to prove what's happening.
It's like the word occult. Occult doesn't mean some kind of weird, nefarious, satanic thing. It means hidden. It's the same with apocalypse. Apocalypse doesn't mean death, destruction, end of the world. It means a revelation.
And people spare me the emails with the, I thought you believed in it. Look at it. I don't believe in anything. I go by evidence. And while, yes, I've seen evidence that NASA has acknowledged Planet X and that they've been looking for, I know all that stuff's true. I've seen the newspaper clippings. I know. Okay, I know this. But my thing is did they slip this stuff out? See, I look at both sides. So, until I have solid evidence, and I'm not talking about a picture you got from a blogger, and people get mad because I'm a tough cookie. I don't accept just anything. Yeah, it has to be indisputable. It has to be indisputable evidence, and I need to be able to be in contact with the source of that original picture. And I've got questions I want to ask. And if people won't answer my questions, then they're obviously hiding something. That's the way I look at it. So, did I lose you guys?
Oh, no, I had myself on mute. I was talking. It tends to happen a lot.
But yeah, so that's how I roll with all this. And I won't go and say that it's not true, because who knows? Maybe some of it is true. But, maybe. I can't base my life on maybes. What I can prove is that our government is preparing for something. That governments, not just ours, but around the world, are preparing. They've got underground this, underground that, farms, blah, blah, blah. They've got it all, tunnels leading throughout the whole country, and Russia's got it, and China's got it. A lot of countries have it. Israel has it. The United States has paid for Israel to have it.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
I wanted to interject something, though. What you mentioned about Walmart, people jump up and they say, oh, they're going to put us in FEMA camps at Walmart. Well, no, Walmart's an emergency center because of the supplies that are there. That's why Walmart is a designated center.
Yeah, because we'd bust right through the walls on that place.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's just for emergencies, for supplies, and like when a football stadium is used for a hurricane, stuff like that. It's not necessarily to round you up and take you to a FEMA camp. The same thing's true with all of this information. People jump way too far in terms of their conclusions. Like that jump to conclusions, Matt, from Office Space. People they're jumping all over that, man. They're jumping over the map. They're jumping to the other side of it, and that's the problem. Is that we've got people on one side who say, okay, look, there's absolutely nothing up there in the sky, and we say, okay, what about that huge white trail? That's ice melting, and we say, okay, I say I can't talk to you. You obviously didn't finish middle school. Then we go look at the other side. And the other side, they say, oh, they're spraying the chemtrails so we don't see Planet X. I'm like, oh, my God, you didn't finish kindergarten. So I got to stand somewhere in the middle and try to take as much as I can from both sides and then look at things from a balanced point of view and say, okay, hold on. It's not that they're trying to distract us from Planet X, and it's not ice melting. There's another reason for this phenomena, and we've got black and white documents from NOAA, and which unbelievable to me when I read some of these first aerosol spraying documents about how they were supposed to spray for cloud seeding, was one of the original ones, but for hurricane control and things like that. I mean, this isn't black and white. It's all over the place.
We're conspiracy theorists, though, Ryan. You know that. I mean, it's and you know why we get called conspiracy theorists? Because those who control the media. Those people, they hired those other people, those troll people, to get out there and to discredit. They put out fake stuff, and like I say, they've got a whole team of people who get out there and make it look totally foolish. And what you find is a lot of times the people who argue with you about this are people who watch the mainstream media. So, I mean, it's true. And so, yeah, we're conspiracy theorists, they'll tell us. But when we can show documentation proving that it's being done, we can, I mean, even when I had that dumbass Nooch on that night, we were talking about geoengineering. And do you know he brings me tries to pass some information off like, oh, back in the 1800s, they used to seed clouds with balloons. And I'm like, man, that is not what we're talking about. And he tries to play it off like, oh, you know, I tell you, mainstream brainwashing.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, there's a company in the UK that guarantees if you pay them $100,000, they'll make your wedding rain free. You know, I mean,
well. Listen, the first that I heard about geoengineering, the first I actually got a dose of it was, I think it was back in the late '80s. Russia invited one of the Asian islands there. They were having a really bad drought, and Russia offered. I forget the whole story here, but I remember this. Offered to send a typhoon their way to help them with water, with rain, and this and that, and they actually turned it down, but for a price, Russia was going to do it for them.
Yeah,
and this was exactly. This is documented. I mean, this could be proven, so I'm not making it up. I mean, so right there, I mean, I think they've had this technology since the 70s, I think, as far as space weapons go, where, you know, so they put HARP up, and we're all distracted with HARP. Meanwhile, they're actually beaming from up in space. I mean, when they make something, when they put it out there and the mainstream media puts anything, you know, shines a light on it, all they're doing is trying to distract. They want you to look that way because they're doing something else.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. It's all a red herring. It's a huge distraction, like the idea of the face on Mars. Even Roswell, New Mexico, that's a huge distraction. There were other unidentified flying objects that crashed that day, and everybody else's attention was diverted towards Roswell. And I think what that was the military's attempt to put out a story and then pull it and to create this culture of deception and to think, oh, they're lying to us. And that, yeah, they did lie to you. It's just a matter of what did they lie about. They made up this myth of aliens to cover up something like what? What could be more terrifying than aliens? Maybe the fact that you can't trust your own race. Maybe the fact that we were doing business and work with the same Nazis that we were supposedly sending soldiers to go fight during World War II. Maybe that's a little more terrifying than little green men from other worlds, I think, perhaps. I don't know. I was just looking through my book, The Grand Illusion here. I keep it handy on my desk as a gigantic paperweight. And I'm looking in I think it's chapter 6 right now, and I found the document from the United States Department of Commerce talking about the weather modification, and this comes directly from the U.S. D.C., the United States Department of Commerce. It says it right here from 2009, guys. It says, research scientists and managers from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's NOAA Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research, OAR, met in April of 2009 to discuss research collaboration with the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, on hurricane modification. It goes on to say that while OAR recognized that weather modification in general is occurring through the funding of private enterprises, NOAA does not support research that entails efforts to modify hurricanes. NOAA and its predecessor agency once supported and conducted research into hurricane modification through Project Storm Fury in 1962 to 1983. So they even said it in their own black and white documents. I have a picture of it in the book. It says it right here. NOAA and its predecessor agency once supported and conducted research into hurricane modification through Project Storm Fury in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And that was only one of few programs. There's also the HARP patents for weather modification, patent number 4,686,605 and U.S. patent 6,315,213. The first patents for weather modification, it says, is made possible by, for example, altering upper atmospheric wind patterns or altering solar absorption patterns by constructing one or more plumes of atmospheric particles which will act as a lens or focusing device. And the last patent I have here, guys,
The 6,315,213. That's 6315213. It's a U.S. patent. You can look it up for yourself if you don't believe me. It says the instant application discloses a method of modifying weather by seeding storm clouds with a polymer. The storm clouds are seeded by dispersing a superabsorbent polymer into the cloud in sufficient quantities to cause a large absorption of water. The reaction of the water with the polymer creates a gel-like substance that precipitates to the surface, thus causing an internal constriction with the cloud to lessen storm velocities. That is in black and white. I have the document. It's not even classified or declassified. It's just from the Department of Commerce, from the United States government. And there it is. They're talking about modifying hurricanes and altering weather patterns. And those are projects that were conducted in the 60s.
And here's my theory on it all right here, and that is that they've been doing it since the 60s, and in the process of it all, they have screwed things up so badly that now they almost have to do it, or we're going to greatly notice what they've done, because once they stop doing it, things would go back to normal, but not before they got crazy out of hand. And so I'm waiting for the big storm, the one where you got 3 different huge storms from around the world, and I'm not trying to be all movie like, but this is what's happening. I mean, you look at the weather patterns and what's going on, the temperatures of the ocean changing, and then add Fukushima into the mix. I mean, my God, I mean there's a big storm brewing. They're doing. So basically they've screwed with it so much they can't stop now.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at what happens with weather, storms happen. Storms are generated when a balance has been broken. So when things become unbalanced, that's when a storm forms. The storm forms as nature's way to restore balance to whatever area the storm occurs in. So because all of these different geoengineering things have been going on for such a long period of time, if they were to stop right now, it would be hell in a handbasket for quite a while, because nature would have to rebalance everything to a sense of normalcy. We would go through some really horrific things regarding the weather.
And you know what that's like? Let's bring it around full circle, guys, like I always try to do. And let's look at what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. And Michael, you played that ad for some drug, and they were talking about all the adverse side effects, right?
Just for clear skin.
Oh, yeah, just for clear skin, you get lymphoma. It's a great trade-off.
Yeah.
So if you look at the environment, you look at the atmosphere, and you look at geoengineering in the same way, what we're doing to planet Earth is basically what we're doing through the medical industry to our own bodies. We're creating such an imbalance that there is a massive, massive increase in life-threatening diseases, allergies through genetically modified foods, gluten intolerance, cardiac disease, heart disease, diabetes, and an assortment of other gastrointestinal problems and Alzheimer's too, that are just exploding because of the imbalances, like Ira said, that we're creating. And what's happening is we're doing that with our own bodies, and the same thing's being done to the environment. We are living in a society where the god, if you will, goddess of chaos is being worshipped, and we are really living in a chaotic, psychotic, sociopathic world where the people that claim to help us and claim to be doing what's right for us are the ones that are actually doing the very opposite. You want a drug to make your skin clear? We're going to give you cancer, and it might clear your skin up. You want to take that eczema away? Put this cream on. It's got birth control in it. You can't have kids anymore. Stuff like that. Everything is the reverse opposite of the way that it's portrayed. It's created a massive imbalance, and just like if we stopped modifying the weather, imagine what would happen. It's the same thing on a smaller scale. What would happen if these people stopped taking their drugs and they stopped trying to stop eating at fast food restaurants and eating all this chemical processed garbage?
their body starts to reject things that are actually healthy, and we end up with a society where scientists now say that if you eat healthy, you have a mental disorder. This is how things get so twisted, and this is how things get so distorted. We've created so many imbalances that we've kind of just like created this massive black hole and been absorbed into ourselves, and we don't even know where we are. It's time to light a candle and open up some of that darkness. Listening to shows like this hopefully help people to at least open one eye to what's going on.
Oh, yeah, there's medications out there, most of them, majority of them, I'd say probably 95% of them, you can't just go off of. You've got to wean yourself out. You gotta see your physician before you decide to stop this medication, because it could cause sudden death, and you can have a stroke, and all these things that come with it. I mean, this isn't medicine anymore. This is black magic. That's what this is, what they're doing. It's poisoning. It's homicide. And it's disgusting. And so, that's like this blood thinner that they gave me that, you got to take this for a while, because with a stent, it's a foreign object in the body, and all the blood cells will go after it to clog. And you don't want that right now. You want skin to grow around it. So naturally, that's exactly what I want, right? So, but here's the thing. I'm reading on this medication. It says no greens, no carrots, no vegetables.
No vegetables.
Don't eat that stuff, because what it'll do is it'll interfere with the medication so that it won't work right. And I'm thinking, really? So what am I supposed to eat? McDonald's fries? Oh, by the way, McDonald's is suffering horribly, and I'm glad to see it, because, McDonald's, they said that they're focused on acting more quickly to better address today's consumer needs. Well, then how about you use real food, because there's no reason a French fry needs to have 16 ingredients.
I think it's more than that. Have you guys seen some of the food at a local bakery at a grocery store? Where Mike D sent me a picture one time. He went to a store, found a cupcake. I think it was like a lemon cupcake or something. It had like 62 ingredients in it.
That's all?
Oh yeah, that's disgusting. Like, if you read through it, you find things like propylene glycol in almost everything you buy when it comes to sweets, because they use it as a sweetener when it's a toxic chemical. It's basically it is antifreeze, and yet we put it in our sweets for children and ice cream.
Well, look, guys, here's the plan. I think this is the plan that they've had, and they've had it for a long time. We're going to introduce sweets. We're going to get people hooked. We're going to put artificial stuff. We're going to put GMOs in there. We're going to get the population fat and out of shape and unhealthy. Then we're going to take their internet. We're going to take their guns, and these fat SOBs ain't going to be able to do anything. We'll have them right where we want them, and probably fatten us up. Maybe the guy that used to be in our chat every night, he said the ETs were going to eat us. Maybe he was right. Maybe they're fattening us up. Maybe they thrive on poison. Are
they coming on Planet X too?
No, they're coming on Planet Cupcake.
The Cupcake Planet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a white trail going across that one too.
Well, I will say, let me just clarify something for you, Ryan, because I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but propylene glycol is actually what's called a hydrostator. It attracts any kind of moisture to it. So when they use it in products, it's used as a way to keep moisture away from the product itself, and actually transfer the water or moisture that would attract to whatever onto another section. Or they'll use it in like cakes and that kind of thing to keep them quote unquote moist.
And they use it in vaccinations. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll use it in anything. I mean, you go on Walmart. I mean, really, if we could put those glasses on we were talking about earlier, Roddy Piper had those glasses. If we could put those on and walk in Walmart, it would say human poison. That's what instead of kids cereals, it would say human be gone. You'd have names like that would be up there. And that's what you'd see. It'd be all black and white, and then you'd see the lizard people walking around with their little baskets on their arm, radioing each other.
Yeah, exactly. One other thing, propylene glycol is also used in the inhalers. Any kind of inhalers. That's the format that you inhale on any kind of like asthma inhalers and that kind of thing. That's where it was primarily used to begin with, and it just kind of has spread out from there.
Well, now that you brought it up, we're almost out of time here. But I have a story. I posted it on LateNightInTheMidlands.com, and it'll go out in the newsletter tonight. But they've actually said that they have found a cure now for asthma, that they now learned how to turn it off. And they said within 5 years, they should have a drug that people could take that'll turn it off. And I'm thinking, why has everything got to be a drug? See, they got to figure out how to make it, profitable. And then but they found a cure anyways, which would be, I know a cure. Turn the chemtrails off in the sky. Take the fluoride out of the water. Stop putting poisons in the vaccines. That would help, right?
That would be a start. And you said earlier that medicine these days is black magic. It's not just black magic, it's also blackmail. So just putting it out there.
Well, it's contracted. It's a big contract with those in power. And I'll tell you what, we talk about the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the Queen and the Vatican. And again, man, they're all in it together. And there might even be a bigger force than that behind all of them. Who knows? Maybe it is some lizard man. I don't know. All I know is we need to start at the bottom and work our way up to the top, kind of like a cop would do with drugs on the street, right? So
yep.
Obama wants to be the spokesperson for America. That's where we live, you and I, and Ryan, and this is our home. So we start with him, okay? And then the ones upstairs, they start seeing, they got him. Ooh, they got that. Oh, boy, they're moving up the ladder. And then they pack their bags and run. But we don't let them get away. We make sure they don't come back, because it's my understanding. Well, I won't say that. But yeah, so they don't come back.
It's been an amazing show tonight, guys. I've definitely enjoyed being here with you. I want to thank you so much for letting me be on here with you guys.
Oh, thank you. And guys, anything you want to get out there to finish, go ahead, 30 seconds each.
I'll take it first. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. Brothers at Arms is going to be on at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to talk about the nature of fear and some of the horrific things that go with it. It's going to be a really interesting show. So that's the next one that I'm going to be on.
You live yet with that or not yet?
Not yet. Actually, though, next Wednesday I'm planning on doing a live episode. It'll be my 100th episode, so I'm doing that as a special.
Oh, great. Well, yeah.
That's cool. Nice.
You'll find going live is a lot of fun, especially like nights like last night. We had you get a lot of calls coming in. You never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to get.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. So, Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, just remember you can catch The Secret Teachings now weekdays in the afternoon on the L&M Radio Network, and our new episodes air Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. This week I have Aaron Murakami. We're talking about free energy. Next week I've got Eric Dollard. We're talking about free energy again. And then coming up in May, I will also have some paranormal shows, ghost busting, as well as some remote viewing coming up. And thesecretteachings.info is my website. That's www.thesecretteachings.info. It's been a really, really great show tonight, guys. I really enjoyed the conversation, and we'll pick it up next week.
All right. Well, guys, thank you again. I'll be back with you tomorrow night. I've got Robert Stanley joining me tomorrow night. We're going to have another fascinating show. And then on Friday, I have Dr. Leonard Horowitz and Sherry Kane joining me. Going to get an update on their battles with the COINTELPRO, and we'll probably talk about a few other things. I think they've even got a video site because of YouTube, so they've built something quite like that. Where we're going to have a place to start putting videos where dirtbags can't come and try to have them removed. Which anyways, I've got that now at my site. Nobody, they know that they can't bully me into taking anything down. So anyways, so we'll be back with you tomorrow night for Late Night in the Midlands. Ryan, Ira, thank you so much. Everybody else, have a great night. Keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you might see. Keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know what you might learn. Good night, everybody.